Hey guys, welcome to New World. I'm just gonna make this video and try and keep it short while it's still fresh in memory. So this is a new game. It was gifted to me by a friend just to try it out. I played it and this is pretty much like I guess my review of it in terms of just the beta, but I mean, like, they have release coming soon, so I really doubt there's gonna be that much of a difference on release. So far we'll just go through it categorically, I guess. Character customization, it's actually not very extensive. It's very lackluster unless I'm missing some options here, but I didn't really notice any other options. So this is pretty much it for character customization. There's really not that much going on here. It's actually kind of disappointing, if anything. I've literally seen mobile games have far greater customization than this, so that's not really good. Given enough players into the game, I'm pretty sure you will literally look like a copy of somebody else. So that's the first thing I wanted to go over. So the next things I want to go through is in-game itself. The other negatives, there's negatives and there's positives in this video. I actually thought the weapon system was kind of okay at first, but I think the balance in terms of the weapons are actually like really bad. So weapon mastery, for instance, these are the weapons that are available currently. There's only 6 active skills in each tree. Looks like you can only pick up like 20 of them. I haven't really leveled it that much far in, but you get the respec for free, I think, up to level, like, prior to being level 20. Looks like there's a cost later on when you get to higher levels probably, so you won't be able to freely like throw the skills around anymore. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You can only equip 3 skills anyways, and depending on which style of skill tree you take, it doesn't matter. You can eventually just pick up any side of the skills. I'm pretty sure the passives are applied regardless of which side you take, as I've noticed in some of the other weapons. And pretty much I've tried like the bow. I haven't really tried like the great axe, but I have looked through like most of the skills. Honestly, it seems kind of lackluster in my opinion. I kind of expected more. It seems like there's very little variation involved going on here, mainly because like some of the weapons are like far better than the other ones. I don't really know if that's the case in very far late game, but in terms of early game, like the staff, like the magic tree line here is like broken OP AF compared to like anything else I was like playing. Like I started off with a sword and shield, then I wanted to try around with a musket. Then I tried around with a bow, then I messed around a tiny bit with a hatchet, and overall it was like really disappointing. And then I found like a life staff and I was like, oh yeah, let's just try to like heal her life or whatever, right? So I equipped it and I was like, wow, then like the healing staff is like busted as hell. Reasons being is, one, you can self-sustain, so you don't need food anymore if you play like semi-carefully against PvE or whatever. I don't know how it is in PvP, but like in dungeons, everybody wants a healer all the time, so dungeons, you're already a wanted class. In PvP, I'm pretty sure a healer is really powerful to keep teammates alive in a combat, considering everybody else has to chug food. On top of that, you could probably chug food on top of the heal. You've got ranged attack. It's like a bolt that shoots twice as fast as the bow, so that's already ridiculous. The bow has like arcing projectiles. The life staff does not. The life staff is a singular like straight line projectile that moves as fast as a bullet almost. And on top of that, you can burst chain the skills as well back to back, so it's just kind of busted. I really don't understand it. Like the balance is just completely way off track. I played the life staff and I was like, the bow is useless, musket is useless, forget it. Like, I'm just gonna go life staff. You literally have the best of all worlds. You can self-sustain. You don't need materials to craft ammo. You don't need to like craft food to heal yourself. You can use that food to hand into quests instead, so you can speed level yourself instead of having to use it on yourself and travel and whatnot. So you get all the benefits without any of the repercussions. Ammo not only weighs in your bag, it also like takes up an extra slot, so you can equip the ammo and all of a sudden you'll have like a phantom weight disappear out of yourself. So given this, it's like, look, this thing's weighs 2.6 or whatever, right? I take it off, it increases here, but if I put it on my character, it suddenly doesn't weigh anything. Like my equipment load obviously is only affected by this gear, but you put it in here, it's like a phantom weight slot. So if you have like a high stack of ammo, just throw it in here instead of like in here, or just sell all of this and whatnot, or throw it away or something. Who knows? In any case, like, that's already ridiculous that you don't have to worry about ammunition with the staff. It's pretty much infinite durability except for the durability of the weapon itself. I did a damage test like on stream or whatever, like I think like this thing was only, I had a stat that was like only 109 damage, and then I had all my stat points put into dexterity at first, right, for the bow damage. So it said like, you know, bows and muskets and certain swords or whatever that I had scaled with dexterity, right? And I had like 50 points of this in that stream. And then I put it all into intelligence because I thought the life staff was on intelligence. So I didn't even have it in the right slot, and the focus was still doing more damage after I lost like, after I had 50 points of dex into the bow and it hit like less. The attack rate was like half, and there was an arcing projectile, and I had to aim like far more carefully than with the life staff. The life staff would just fire away non-stop. You don't have to worry. So it's kind of like this. You just shoot. You don't really have to worry about it. But then like if I use a bow, just even without aiming, I can show you right now how slow it is. So this is the staff, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, and then this is the bow. It's like 1, 2, 3. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously slower on top of needing to aim too. If you actually want to do like a power shot or whatever. There's an arc, as you can tell, and maybe some kind of weird lag delay because I'm on the east server even though I'm on west coast. But like it's ridiculous. Whereas like this, I can just shoot like constantly, not have to worry about ammo, nothing. And then if I wanted to chain my skills, I can't even do that with the bow, I think. So let's see. You shoot an arrow. And then I can't even use the Q skill. There's like a huge delay in between. Oh my god, it's awful. And then look at the staff. The staff is like 1, 2, and then it's like 3, 4. It's crazy. Like it's just like the balance is like way off kilter. I can just walk back forever. It doesn't even matter. Okay, 132. I took some damage, doesn't really matter. I can heal myself. There comes 334 health points back. What happens if I use a bow, right? Like, you know, here's a bow. Since I still under level 20, I can free spec. Let me just respec all this. Dunk it all into dexterity. All right. Okay, so now it's all dex. You would expect that this bow would hit like way harder, but it doesn't. Let me just look at my stats here for a second. So it's hitting 159 damage, and this is 121 damage. Okay, this is with arrow ammo. Arrows have like a small multiplier too if it's like anything beyond like, look, there's 56 damage on this thing. I don't know if that's a damage type. And then this is the bow right here. I mean the staff, 84. I'm doing 30 more damage. Either it's because it's undead or whatnot, but I tried it on animals as well. And the staff still hits harder, even though the stat digits like show a lower number. And I was trying to figure out like if is it because of the nature damage, or is it like the thrust damage, or like whatnot. I don't really know. But in any case though, like bows just suck. Same with like muskets, I'm pretty sure, because of ammunition problems. Let me just try this with a gun here. And then you know, 119. This is 84, except I don't have to aim. And it's constant, and I can spam my skills in between. And then put a healing field around it too. You see that little aura around the enemy? It's actually like a healing field. So when he actually comes up close to me, I end up healing myself. Look, the other guy has the same idea too. He's using a healing staff. And these are mobs that are like 7 levels higher than me too. I shouldn't even be able to take these guys on like they're nothing. And this is what I mean by like, I'm pretty sure this demonstrates like the huge balance issues I have already with like the game, just upon discovering this wand. And that's what I have to, that pretty much like summarizes it. I'm pretty sure that very clear that there's a very massive imbalance in between the weapons here. This mastery, I don't think it attributes to like bonus damages or anything. It just lets you put in points into this skill tree. I took the self-heal obviously, so I don't have to eat food anymore. And then I also put it into this thing here where my light attack and heavy attack no longer take mana. Heavy attack is not even that much slower, and it does like 50% more damage or something like that. This is a heavy attack. You just like a light charge up, and then it's like Expelliarmus. GG. And then the Orb of Protection, because this is an instant projectile AoE thing, and it grants you more defense against like whatever is hit. So you can just blast this. And then you've got the AoE heal, which you can attach it onto an enemy or an ally. So it's just it's a healing field, so once the target dies, you can just stand in this and you can look at my HP bar just go back up. So if you stick this onto an enemy and it's getting close to you, well, guess what? You just walk in and out of the field and suddenly you're being healed for your enemy being near you. It's pretty busted in my opinion. So balancing issues, like there's a big balancing issue problem here in my opinion. So early on, just use the life staff. You'll literally get through all the early content way easier with the life staff than anything else. And then in terms of the attack combo, for some reason there's some kind of weird attack cancel with the skills. So what you want to do is a light attack into the skill and then a light attack into another skill. So you can do like a double back shot like that, like 1-2, and then it's like, and then you know you do the other one 3-4 like that. I don't even know if that's intentional, but like, hey, it seems to work. So I don't know, this game's supposed to be ready to be launched, so I think that's how it's supposed to go, like 1-2. I don't think any other class can do two attacks in succession like that. Alright, that's it. Any damage you take is just like, alright, whatever, let me just self-heal. And then you just keep going. There's literally like no cost if you have to grind, but this game isn't really about grinding, it's about getting those quests done. But even then, you can take on much harder foes than you would if you were melee. Like, I was having so many problems with melee, and then just got a life staff and just started like pegging enemies from like a mile away. It's pretty busted. Anyways, so balancing issues aside, I think this skill system is kind of lackluster. There's really not too much differentiation. I'm pretty sure as the game like progresses and people get more used to the weapon type that they like, there's gonna be a lot of cookie cutter builds, and because like you can pick up both sides of the tree and you're not really committed to one side, and you pick up like all the useful passives on one side and not the other or whatever, or pick up like all the useful passives on both sides, everybody's gonna have like eventually like the same kind of build in my opinion. I don't think there's gonna be too much variation there. So the combat, I think, is not going to be very like in-depth or anything at all. It's probably very shallow already just based on that. The stat tree here, this is actually like, I like this. This stat stuff here is actually like, I think it's pretty good having these milestone bonuses here. This is a good thing. But then again, it's like, I don't know how strong these power leaps are at each one, but I don't think it's that much. But some of them on like, say for instance, 20% healing output, that's pretty big. So if you're like 149 points, you don't really get anything, but then like at 150, you suddenly get like a giant healing spike boost there, which is pretty large, if you ask me, for 20%. And then what else is there? There's like other things you should probably mix with it, like health, for instance, like constitution, so you could have more health. The other thing with being a staff user is that with your range and whatever, you can also have a lighter gear weight load. And if you have a lighter gear weight load, you'll notice that you move faster in terms of a dodge roll, so you get more distance from dodging. You also deal 20% bonus damage, so you actually do even more damage for a ranged class that is already like self-sustaining, doesn't have to worry about ammo or weight or crafting and those things, on top of like a spammable shot that is like a bullet speed single line projectile that has no arc on it. And then you know, medium armor, sure, maybe, and then like heavy, I get it, like heavy, if there's like a few classes I looked at their skills, like the Great Axe for instance, that has like a pull mechanism, which is probably very useful, because I didn't really see too many ways like people securing kills or whatever. I see people like PvPing like just outside of town, and I see a guy just run away, and then like everybody just pulls out their ranged weapons and starts firing at them. It's like there's nobody really to lock down somebody to just attribute to a fight like all the way to the end. Like if you just want to back out at 20% HP, you just turn around and start running. That's it. Like nobody can catch you because everybody runs at the same speed. The only class that runs slightly faster is probably like the archer when you pick up this dodge and weave whatever. Otherwise you gotta pick up like you gotta have like a pole weapon or like a toss ranged. It's usually just tossed or whatever. Great Axe for instance has this reap. I think the reaper skill tree is really good for locking down because it's got like 8-meter increase. If you got this taunt gem compatible, taunting somebody for 4 seconds is pretty long, unless this only works on monsters, then that kind of sucks. But you know, there's a few classes that let you pull in whatnot. Another thing about the game so far, from what I experienced, there's a lot of running involved. This game has so much running, it makes Death Stranding look like a walk around the block, and this is like the marathon, so be prepared for that. That's one of the things that got me really annoyed late into the game, was after about like 4 hours of initial like areas and the gameplay, like you start off somewhere over here, right? After running around for a while, and then like when it started sending me out to these like later areas, I was like, oh my god, there's so much running. It's just like it felt like more than half of my gameplay was just spent auto running in one direction. Like all I had to do was just drop a waypoint somewhere, like right click here, and then just turn my compass until the number is there at the top, because there's no minimap in this game. And then just, that's it. Like you press T and then you just kind of walk away and go do something for like several minutes. It doesn't matter. If you don't make it there and you die, well then I guess you just auto run and do it again, because you really don't want to sit here for like 5 or 6 minutes watching yourself run 900 meters in one direction, because it's literally forever. And like, don't worry about obstacles. Your character will automatically jump over like rocks and logs and everything too in water, just like that. So you can just literally just aim your compass in that direction and press the auto run hotkey, and then just, that's it. Just disappear for like 5 minutes. So it's like terrible that there's like so much running around. There is a fast travel. I don't really know how to get this currency too much. I do have some of it right now. So maybe that's easier to obtain later on in the game, I'm pretty sure. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure everybody else is like, oh my god, there's so much marathon running. Or maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe I haven't gone that far in, and maybe it doesn't change. Recalling to like an inn that you're checked in at, this has a 1 hour cooldown, so that's also pretty long as well. I can only do this once every 1 hour, so you can teleport to wherever you registered your inn or your every 1 hour. So yeah, that's pretty long as well. So I don't know how hard it is to get that fast travel currency. I have 233 out of 59 right now, and depending on if your faction owns like an area, there might be a discount. And in terms of like faction registration, I don't know if there's a cap or a player limit to each faction, because right now I'm in the purple faction because I just read the description and it seems pretty cool. But it turns out I picked the faction that is like literally dominating everywhere. And like if there's no player limit cap on any faction, that means everybody will just flood into one faction, and then that faction will just, you know, just rickroll the world, and that's it. I don't know if there's anything to do with that. Other things I mentioned was that it'd be nice if there was like a time code for the war schedules and whatnot, or like timings or whatever. Like, you know, like a time code from, so you don't have to worry about time zones. You got friends around the planet. Some people just play on different servers so that they can play with their friends or whatever, and then time zone becomes a problem. So like over here it says like 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. EST. That's like 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. PST for me, because it's 3 hours behind. East Coast versus West Coast over whatever. And then if somebody is like somewhere else across the world VPNing playing the game or whatever, then, you know, I don't know, it's like the time code could be off. Or like if you're central, for instance, it could be 1 or 2 hours off depending on where you are. I don't know why they don't just set this towards like your local time, or put that in a settings option where you can just like select the time zone that you're in, and then everything will just adhere to that time code. There's a few games that do this already, like Final Fantasy XIV. I think Elyon as well is going to do that and whatnot, but like that's a very nice quality of life feature, so you never have to worry about like time zones or timings to synchronize with your friends, especially for a PvP game that I'm pretty sure, you know, time constraint hours and whatever is important, especially if you're going to play the game seriously. That's just my take. I think that would be a good addition for everybody, but it's a very nice quality of life change for something that is like time locked into certain sections of the day. So I think that would be very, very helpful for the betterment of the game. Journals and questing, it's pretty just like traditional questing. The only problem is, of course, like I mentioned earlier, there's so much running involved that it's kind of ridiculous. I probably spent like maybe 60 to 70% of my gameplay just running around compared to doing like gameplay activities. That, or I'm running around and gathering resources, which doesn't really change from one area to the next or from one place to the next. My loot seems to be statically like the same one and over, and then it just sort of begs the question of like, why don't I have like workers or like retainers or something to help me grab these items, or some sort of like small automation system in town that, like, you know, in these settlements or whatever, that I can fire guys out. Maybe there is, I don't really know, or haven't like come across it yet because I'm only level 15 or 16, and yeah, that's another problem like right there that I believe should be addressed. I actually found fishing to be okay. It was fine. Another problem with the game, I think, is audio. Audio is like really not impactful in this game. Sounds, like for instance, when I started with the sword and the shield, the sword, it's like a, it's a metal blade, right? And I'm hitting flesh with it, and it sounds like a twig hitting a plastic bottle. And I was making this criticism on stream that it felt like they just pulled sound effects from like a stock audio library or something, and they don't have sound engineers working on the game for some reason. I don't really know, but like the sword hitting like flesh and other objects really did not match like what is expected that in real life. Like metal upon rock almost sounds like metal upon metal, and then like metal upon wood, and you usually hear the sound of the wood. Albeit it's a small detail, but it's part of the game immersion, and it's very jarring to hear like a rusted or even like a metal sharpened sword swing at like undead skeleton or like zombie flesh, and it sounds like I'm hitting a plastic bottle with a twig. So that's also really weird. The background ambience music, it's barely noticeable. I could turn it off or on and it wouldn't have changed anything. So I feel like soundtrack is also like, it's kind of ignorable. Like maybe it should do something more to enforce the mood, unless this is the mood they want to enforce, which is just I'm just jogging like 90% of the time, 60% of the time, 70% of the time. I'm just running around because you can't there's no mounts in the game yet apparently. Maybe later on this will be better, but like look at how much of the world you have to run to. And if you've never been to any of these places, you cannot just teleport there. You have to run there first before you're able to teleport there. So everybody who is somewhere on this map, they have literally ran from like where they started all the way out there. And you might think like, oh, that's cool, like the world is open and I can just run into the distance and whatever, but like once you do that about like what, even 3 times over, you get kind of sick of it. Or maybe you don't. You might be that person that doesn't get sick of it. But either way, like I think it's really ridiculous that you have to run like so much, especially when you have to do quests. Like running from here to here, it's not only that, like these are like cliffs and things you have to maneuver around. It's not a straight line. Some of these are like super high heights that you have to actually run around and everything and zigzag all over the place. And like this compass is like, I don't know, I don't think this compass is like a really good depiction of information. You could really just put this, you could really just like delete the entire compass and just put those icons around the edge of the screen instead to show you which direction is where. Or either that, again, you could just have a tiny mini-map in the top right and just circle band the compass around it and have all the icons like take up just the tiny little right corner up here instead of just across the top there. There's no way to turn off that piece of UI, so I don't really know how you can turn it off. There's no real setting that allows you to turn off the compass UI. You can turn off certain UIs, which I've tried already. Or either that, I just didn't see the yeah, you can't turn it off. It's always there. Reticle, social active, key hunt, floating numbers. Nope, yeah, it's always there. So that's another thing. Like you cannot turn off certain parts of the elements. If I wanted to turn off the quest window in the top right, I just have to open the journal and unpin all of these. Some things are like slightly encumbersome overall though. And like the game, the final thing about the game is that like the game is very resource heavy. Like I don't know why it uses up so much CPU and GPU. The game doesn't look like it has like groundbreaking graphics, for instance, or anything like that. My character looks like it's some kind of like low polygon character. So I don't really get why the game eats up so much like computer power and GPU power. My computer's not exactly like stellar or like top of the line, but even then I get more FPS on like remastered Black Desert Online, and my Final Fantasy looks far better than the graphics I'm seeing here. So like I don't know, like water effects aren't, there's not really that much of a water effect either. Like the water splashes are animated images on repeat, and yeah, like it's not really even a water splash. It's just a 2D image that's being repeated at my character's foot. The ripples itself are actually water physics, I think. Yeah, they're actually water physics, but like that little splash is just a repeated image. So I don't know why the game is so graphic intensive. Sometimes when I look up at the sky, I gain FPS, and then in other areas when I'm looking up the stairs, my FPS tanks down to like 15 FPS or something like that. It's up there in the top right, so I'm looking at this blank sky right now. His FPS is going up, and then like if I look down, it's like at 75 or something like that right now. It's going up to like 80. Really depends on where you look and where you are, so it's clearly got something to do with the rendering distance or something going on in the background. I don't know what, but again, like I'm playing with uncapped VSync off and all these other settings off. Everybody tried to like, oh, you should just like do this setting, you should do that setting. Tried it. I'm playing on high, not everything's on like max or whatever, because I don't like, if this is already high, like the second last option, I'm expecting it to already look pretty good, but it looks kind of just mediocre. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Uncapped, lower the player nameplates, windowed. That's all I have for New World. In terms of pricing, I don't think this game is worth $50 Canadian. I would pay at most $30 Canadian for it. I wouldn't pay $50 for it. It seems really expensive for this experience. $30 at most. If I actually wanted to like buy it myself, I would gladly pay $20 for it, or $25, but 30 is like the cap at where I would place the game in its current state. I don't think the game is ready for release. There's been like exploits and like other bugs and things that have been mentioned throughout the game's beta already. I feel like they should have a longer beta so that people can just play and break the game in whatever the heck they want. Or, you know, it doesn't really matter, but even then it's like people paid money for this experience already in the beta as far as I can tell. And I don't think it's really, really good. So the game to me is like just medium. It's not great, it's not good. It's okay. It's not bad, and it's not terrible, but I just expected more. Anyways, that's it. Last thing I forgot to mention is the crafting system. Apparently the crafting system is actually quite extensive, and I have heard multiple people enjoy it. I didn't really jump into it that much. I was sort of just like forehead playing it and just letting the game sort of follow a bunch of buttons. I had materials, press button, craft, and that was about it. I didn't really think much else on it. The other thing was that like people told me that faction gear was far better than anything else. So it sort of begged the question in my head, like, are any of these craftable items even good then if faction gear is like better than anything else? But that's just what they said. I had no way to prove or check that yet, or nor do I have the effort or want to check that. But that's just a question to keep in mind. If faction gear really is like best in gear from just doing faction stuff, then why bother doing any weaponsmithing, armoring, and whatnot? You'd probably be better just doing engineering for like tools. Weapon and armoring is like just completely pointless if that's the case, but I don't really know. But as people play and progress more in the game, that's definitely something you should keep in mind, is to which of these trade skills you should level up. I do think the life skilling and like trade skilling stuff is good enough. And the way like certain towns and like shops and stuff can level up is also pretty neat. So those are some better positives of the game. And then the territory standings, like that lets you choose like extra bonuses when you gain levels in it, is also a nice addition. So it's not all bad. It's just those are the things I mentioned earlier are the things I'm most critical of. Anything else I didn't mention is probably like positive or not. Or I haven't experienced, or either that I might have just forgotten, but those are the things that were like at the top of my priority that I wanted to share. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and see you later.